Alright everyone, we had to talk about some rather dour news with the FCC's new rule there, so let's talk about something a little bit more funny. I thought it was time for another stick story, and so I wanted to go through the top 5 times that I've laughed the hardest. So I'm going to do them in reverse order, leading up to the big number 1. I'm going to have fun making this video and reminiscing about some of these very, very funny moments. Number 5 would definitely be the time that Liz was addressing migrant boats. We were in Amsterdam at the time. This is the first time I was in Europe, I think. And I can't use the actual term because it's a racial slur, but I asked her what the term meant. I had no idea specifically the reference because, of course, I knew like 3 words in Dutch maybe at that point. Getting better now. Actually, pretty good at understanding it as long as I'm spoken to slowly. I'm very bad at speaking it, but anyway, it's a racial term, a racial insult, an epithet. And I asked her what the translation was, and it translates to a very vulgar term in English. Again, it's N-word boat, basically. And I just thought it was hilarious because when Liz reacted, it was just like an out-of-the-blue question. I can't even remember where I saw or heard the term. I think it was on the cover of a paper or something like that. Or in a comment or something, and but she looked so innocent about it, like, you know, just gave the literal translation in a very dry manner, like with no like visceral reaction like you normally associate with randomly saying a racial epithet. I just lost it laughing. I still remember it to this day and how fucking funny it was. Number 4. One time, my uncle, the weird uncle of the family, I guess, you know, from that generation, I won't use his name, I think he sporadically watches my content, actually, was over. I can't remember, I can't remember if it was a holiday or just a regular family get-together, and we're talking about Fear Factor. And yes, Fear Factor gross-out stunts are definitely normal conversation around the Warwick table. That's sort of a thing in my family. It's topics like that are considered hilarious when you're eating, especially if someone gets grossed out, but which vexes certain people. And he made a reference to the gross out stunts, and he said, "Here we have a trough full of vomit. We'll see if Peggy can eat her way through." And as a kid, I really liked Fear Factor. The gross out stunts were spectacular. I hated it when they effectively removed them. Then the show basically fell through. But for some reason, it just struck me as hilarious, like that imagery. I started laughing so hard that my dad yelled at me, actually, at the kitchen table because I was disrupting everyone for like 5 minutes. I was just laughing and almost crying uncontrollably. The third would be Duncan calls a gun shop. This is a specific soundboard prank call, and I really like soundboard pranks in general. You've Frank Garrett, Duncan, and, you know, the drug and alcohol lady and Springfield pervert and all these others. I love them all for the most part. Meat Grinder Mike. Some of these people's reactions when they get called by a soundboard are just completely, they lose it. Just look up Nightmare on Burton Street if you want to see one of the more notable examples of when it may have gone a bit too far. Anyway, in this prank call, right at the end, they call back the gun shop with what the gun shop had said. The idea is that you call someone with the soundboard that you're controlling with a computer, and then you record their voice and turn them potentially into a soundboard. Or at least release the prank calls on the internet for shits and giggles. But at the end, the gun store owner is making weird noises, like going like bloop, 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 at the soundboard. And they recorded that, and then they called the gun shop back with his own voice, really, really overmodulated too, just blasting it into the phone of him making these weird noises. And the gun store owner is totally incredulous. He's like, Frank, you put the phone down, or something like that. And I just, for some reason, that particular like 20 seconds of soundboard prank, one of the greatest things ever. As an aside, Little India Grill, that collection of prank calls is also definitely up there. Number 4, the Chaz Garden. Yes, for all of those people that were supplying me with Chaz Garden images and videos when that was a thing, you remember the Antifa Autonomous Zone that they set up that one time? And they were trying to grow a garden, and it didn't go over well. And the number of mistakes they were making, you know, number 1 was having the dude that was clearly tweaking or on ecstasy or something dancing around in what they were trying to build. They did such a horrendously poor job. It's like every Soviet agricultural famine meme comes to mind. It was a freak show for days. It was one of the greatest. I want to thank Antifa. You don't contribute much to the world, but I probably gained an extra year of lifespan laughing so hard. Your efforts to garden in what had used to be a fucking public park did so poorly. I mean, the poor plants. I feel sorry for them more than for the Antifa members that must have been hungry for failing with their Chaz garden. It was just hilarious. My contribution, of course, was outside of Chaz. They had that like barrier there, covered in graffiti and probably human shit and stuff, and then you put on a picture of what's his name? I think Sturgis from Fallout 4, because your settlement sucks. It looked like a Fallout settlement filled with trash, and then there were so many drugs and sex assaults going on. Eventually, the whole thing just sort of collapsed. So yes, for a brief moment in time, the anarchists took control of a few city blocks, but they never developed agriculture. They remained hunter-gatherers. And number one, the funniest goddamn thing I have ever seen in my life, and you should watch it. Steve the Drunk's racist rant from Deadwood. It was in season 2. I can't remember the episode. It's called Full Faith and Credit. I can't remember which one it was, though. I think number 3 or something. Watch Full Faith and Credit. Deadwood is a great series. Steve the Drunk, and I can't remember the actor's name, but he's goddamn superb, goes on a completely unhinged racial tirade in 2 parts. And I laughed so hard. I was a teenager watching Deadwood with my family. You know, you'd be getting a little bit uncomfortable during the prostitute scenes, maybe. Plenty of them, by the way. Full frontal in some cases. But here's the thing. I literally fell out of my chair laughing. I was laughing so hard. I could not even get up. And I remember when I found it online, I rewatched it 5 or 6 times in a row. And again, I could watch it right now and there'd be tears streaming down my face. Literally the funniest thing ever because of the massive hyperbole of Steve the Drunk. When he gets into one of those moods in the show, he's a consistently comedic character. He's literally the town drunk, or the settlement drunk, really. And he's a massive racist. The problem is that he gets into it with a couple of black individuals, and he's none too happy. None too happy with the Sheriff Bullock either at that point. Oh man, it was great. Watch it for yourself though. And I can't even do apart from the racist tirade because I'd get banned off of YouTube. Like, really over the top. Like, if you're actually racist, you'll probably like it for different reasons other than the hyperbole. So yeah, those are the top 5 times I've laughed the hardest in my entire life, at least that I can recall, and you tend to recall moments like those. Yeah, I have a fun time. I'm looking for more hilarious shit to lose it to laughing, by the way. World could use a little bit more laughter right now. That's about all. Peace out.